When it comes to all the skills that a musician should master, all the abilities, techniques, and chops that a musician should have under his or her belt, voice leading, to me, in my opinion, is probably the number one thing that should be on the top of the list as far as things to learn. Now let's discuss. I'm Chris Moses, and this is Gospel Progressions University, where I'm here to help you as a church musician. When we are looking at voice leading, we're basically talking about the way we construct our chords and pretty much what melody note we're using to play on top. What melody notes that are on top, on our pinky and our right hand, that lead to the next chord. We can take something simple like, for example, in the key of C major. And what we can do is come up with a simple melody. So we just go from E to D to C to A, B, and C. Simple. Now we have our melody. Now when we want to support that, we're going to support that how? Well, of course, with a harmony. And now we have to think about what kind of harmony we want to use with that. We can use diatonic harmony, meaning harmony that just are constructed, harmonies that are just constructed of the chords themselves that don't leave the key of C. You know, something like very simple. Okay, or we can just go back to the G over B and C, right? However, with that, what I like to do is, first thing is show you what we can use, how we can take that voice leading and use another scale. Let's look at a scale of fourth away, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be the F melodic minor. So it's F, G, A flat, B, flat, C, D, E, and F. Basically, it's F major, but with a minor third, okay? So if we notice though, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chord of the F melodic major scale, the 5th degree, is a major. So with that, what we can do is make our resolution, our chords around that and see what it sounds like, right? So we have something like this. I can take in my left hand and take the B flat and the A flat of the F melodic minor, and then the G of the F melodic minor, which would be the G, the 5 of the key of C major. And then we can come up with something like this. So now we're beginning to have some kind of harmony there. And we can take this a step further now and say, let's just add a tritone in our left hand. This tritone is going to be based off of the F melodic minor scale. Remember, we were going to resolve in the key of C, but because C plays a major role, no pun intended, in the scale of F melodic minor, we can use that. We can use chords that belong to it. Now we can take a tritone now, and how we would find that is the B flat and the E. We can use that as our first tritone, and we can use this tritone to harmonize with the melody on top. So here we go. We can do something like this. All right, so now we can add another harmony with that tritone here. We can go take the C, the E here that we have in our left hand with the B flat, and then we can go down to D. Now we have another tritone. This is still in the key of F melodic minor, or the scale, using the scale. So then we can resolve now from here, and then we can play in our right hand a C major chord, because that would resolve down to a C major, and we can do this. In our left hand, play the G and the C, right hand E, G, and C. So it would sound like this. Okay, and then we have this here. Now we can build on that, and we can give that melody a little bit more something behind it. You can use some tones, some grace notes to approach the melody. All right. So now we can use those grace notes to lead us to that melody and still maintain the integrity of the melody, right? So we can do something like this. So I'll play it again. We just do the D, E flat, and E, and roll it up to the E. So C, D flat, D, right? and then we resolve in a C major a triad. So it would sound like this with the left hand with the tritone. Remember, we're going B flat E, A flat D, and then G C in our left hand. The first chord, the second one here, still maintaining the melody, and this is where we're going to end. Okay, so now we have a simple melody that went from this. We still have to do the rest of it now. So let's finish that off now. So now we're in the key of C major, but these notes also coincide with the F melodic minor scale. Now we don't have to worry about resolving it on the F melodic minor, or the F minor, which is the first chord. Typically, that's what we would do with music. We would resolve to the first chord of the scale degree, but we're thinking in the key of C major, right? And the melody is in the key of C major, so there's no reason why not we wouldn't end it and resolve it on the C major, but this is C over 5. This is what I like to call a 1 over 5, because you're typically not going to resolve like this. You can, but with that kind of movement in gospel, you're going to resolve with the 1 over the 5. So now that we have that down, we want to do this now. We have to complete our melody. So now this is where the voice leading really shines. There's a couple things that we can do. In gospel, we have something called a 2-5-1 chord progression, and this is all over gospel music. This is something that's been influenced by jazz. Gospel has influenced jazz, and vice versa, and blues and everything else. When I say 2-5-1, I'm stating mainly the second, the fifth, and the first degree of the major scale. So the scale I'm talking about here is a C major scale. So the second degree, if C is 1, then D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, and G is 5. So the chord progression would be from the second degree, the fifth degree, and the first degree. So now if we went back to our melody and we just played everything diatonically, first chord, all right? And now if we kept it diatonic, we can just do something like this. We can do, like I said before, F over A, G over B, and then we can resolve there. You can end it there. But since that we know that we can also do a type of 2-5-1, because really, when you look at the structure for 2-5-1, the A could act as the fifth of the 2 melodically. The B would act as the third of the 5. So technically, you're still doing a 2-5-1. But that movement, that 2-5-1 movement, pulls strongly in the key of, well, whatever key, but in this key, we're looking at the key of C right now. So we know now, back to the 2-5-1, the D, the G, and the A, we know we can use that, right, in its form here. Technically, it could really be this. We can do this, say we were looking at, right? We did D, and then G. But we want to add something else to that to give it a little more color and tone, all right, to our melody. So we know what our melody is again, right? So we did this. Now we can walk up now with that 2-5-1. So what we could do is find another harmony for that. So we said ourselves, well, we know that this is 2, 5, and 1. What could we possibly harmonize with that would make it sound more interesting? Well, we can talk about another scale. We can talk about the diminished scale. Which diminished scale can we use? I don't know. We can match something that comes up with A and B, and see what it sounds like. Now, we can look at the A diminished chord, A diminished seventh, right? Now we can take that, we can invert it. If we invert that with a second inversion and bring it over here, it now becomes, of course, C diminished seventh, which is the same thing as A diminished seventh, just inverted, right? The thing about this chord, though, if you look at this video here, it talks about the flat 9. And the flat 9 chord acts as a 5 chord. It functions as a 5 chord. So that 5 chord now would want to resolve to a 1 chord. All right, so if we look at things, if we're moving in fourths, well, or going up in fourths, you know, we go from D to G would be a 4, from G to C would be a 4. So that's the movement that we're making. So if we did this now, we turn this A here into a diminished chord. So now we have some leading tones. So we can do this here. All right, and resolve. So now we have this here. We have the C diminished. So we said 2-5-1 before. So if we create this and make this a 2 chord, a chord, a D, well, it is a 2 chord, the D, right? Like I said before, it functions as a 5 chord, but we're not playing in the key of what that would be G. We're playing the key of C. So we're not going directly to G, or are we? Well, technically we are, because the 5 of C happens to be G. But if we're moving up in fourths, the 5 of G is also the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the key of D. So this functions as a 5 chord to resolve to another type of 5 chord. This type of 5 chord is a special type of 5 chord. Over this here, what it actually becomes now is a dominant chord, right? This is a major chord, dominant, right? And if we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, flat 9, now we have a dominant chord with a flat 9. You could say this is, in other words, a D7 with a flat 9. So it's a type of altered chord or a change chord, right? So it works as a 5 chord. Now we can go up to another type of chord that is just like this. But what we get to harmonize with this. So remember, we have this so far. All right. 2, and then we want to resolve. We want to have this resolve. We don't want to use G to resolve. So we can do another type of 5 chord. This is functions as a 5 chord. What about this? We have a D diminished, right? Over a G. And again, we have a G chord that's dominant. If we did this, of course we have a G dominant chord, but we're not going to play it in this position because it hurts our voice leading, hurts the melody. So we can do this. We can take this here. All right. Instead of playing a G major, we have this B here that harmonizes. We can take this here. We have a tritone here. So far we have a G7. And this is the 5. So we have 3, the flat 7, or dominant 7, 5. And what do we have here? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, flat 9. And then now we can resolve, right? So let's see what it sounds like. Then we do our 2, 5, 1. Okay, all voice leading. 2. Then we don't have to just play this. We can do this, make it sound a little bit more full. Okay. And that's what voice leading is. And it's very important. We can do the same thing now, being that we have these things related. So now what else can we do with this? If we were just doing this as a turnaround, meaning that this is a chord structure that's played typically like I just played a 2, 5, 1. It turns around and brings you back to the beginning of the phrase. So how would we, change that? So we can actually take that and do something a little bit different. We can go, now we can change that now and we can pay attention to where we're going. Same kind of melody. Say, for example, we wanted to go to a 6 chord. Now we have this, right? This is a 1 chord. So we're looking at a 6 chord. What kind of chord would that be? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know that we have a 6 chord and it's going to be a minor chord, right? So the 6th chord is some type of A chord. It's A minor chord. I just said it. So it's a minor chord, right? So now we have this here. If we have a minor chord, we're going to have it being A. That's major, and we have minor. So this minor third of A happens to be resting on top of here, and it harmonizes well. Sounds good to me. So if we did something like this, all right. All right. We can do that as well. So how else would we approach it? Well, if you paid attention to the harmonies and look at the chords that I was playing, we can do something else with that. So if we have, all right, notice how these two, all right, lead up to it. The chords here have F sharp and you have A flat or G sharp. So it's leading up to that. That's why the voice leading is important, because it gives you a chord structure and it makes sense to a person's ears. Oh, I know this song. This is the song Chris Moses just made up. All right. And na, na, na. Okay. And it's a turnaround to do something else. You want to go back to it and keep playing the 6. That's a typical type of turnaround in gospel. So again, now we can take that chord down and say, okay, we have this chord here, this first diminished chord. All right, remember, instead of doing 2, 5 to resolve it here, 2-5-1, we can do something different. All right, we can do another type of 2-5-1. 2-5-1 again, because A, as we know, is the relative minor of C, and they have things in common. All right, C is its root note, C for C major, but it also plays a function as a minor third away from A for your A minor chord. So if we did, all right, we can do that as well. And if we wanted to now say we did this thing before, right? We can do that. Now, if we wanted to do a 2-5-1, so what's a 2-5-1 for A? Well, if we look at A major, because everything is going to be based off of the major scale, we look at A major. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 5, and 1. So we go to B. So what can we do now? Can we do those same chords? So let's see what it sounds like. All right. Say we did this as a 2 chord. Oh, look at that. Did you notice something here? Well, this here is related to that other diminished chord that I did. That diminished chord, or that dominant chord that I showed you a few moments ago. We played this dominant chord. We played this diminished over this here. What do we have? So let's look at B for a second really quickly. Being that it's the 2 for A, right? Okay, we have this much. All right, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, flat 9, flat 9. All right, so we have this here. That's B dominant. We move this here. We have B with a flat 9, which is, wait a minute, just like we had D with the flat 9. Then we had G with the flat 9, and then C. We could do the same thing for A. A is a relative minor, why not? All right, so we go from here. And now we do something like this. 2, all right, 5, and wait a minute, 1, or 1, if we wanted to do that. So now we're on a 2-5-1 kick, all right? So we go, all right, we come down again, and we resolve to C minor, or not C minor, A minor, right? So let's do that again. Here, right? Yeah, G over C, or C over G, right? And then now we did 2. Now we can bring it down again, the left hand, and go to play the 1 and the 7, the dominant 7 for E, right? So we have B dominant with a flat 9, and we have E, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, flat 9, and see, this is 7, 9, flat 9, flat 9 to resolve to the 6. I think it's a note 6. 6, all right? Okay, see how that works? So now here we have a completely different thing. We have a turnaround with voice leading. It all depends on what you play in your right hand, how you lead it. Remember, we just started like this. Very simple, right? You couldn't get any easier. But now when we added something in our left hand now, you got your left hand, B, A flat over D, so resolve to C. All right, and we can do that if we wanted to just completely end it and just resolve to 5-1 for C, G7 with a flat 9, or G dominant flat 9. All right, if we wanted to do that again to turn back around to C, we can walk up and do this. I would walk up, when I walk up and doing this, what I would do is I would just drop out the second, okay? This is called a special type of chord is called a drop 2. And that is just English for the second note that's in that chord, which would be F sharp. Just drop it in, drop it to your left hand. Drop 2, and then do another drop 2, and do another drop 2. So again, to remind you, drop F sharp, drop G sharp, and drop A. So we do this. Okay, it sounds a little bit different. We could do it that way, or you could just keep it full if you wanted to. Doesn't hurt, right? Nobody's gonna sue you. Or now we can take that and do like I did before. All All right, and you can do the 2-5-1, as in 2-5-1 for A, 2. All right, we have 5, and we resolve to the 1 for A. What A minor's case would be A. So now we want it to turn around and go right back to the beginning. I'll show you a transition chord. So we do, okay, we have this, and then now we can turn around now and just do something like this, like we were doing the 2-5-1 for A, right? 2, and then 5, 5. Now we can do, okay, this works because typically the resolution is going to be to the C major. C wants to resolve to F, which wants to resolve to B flat, and you'll see this cycle, the cycle of fourths. Or you're going up, it wants to resolve up a fourth. Or in other words, all the chords have a 2-5-1 kind of built into it. So C is going to resolve to F, which is probably going to resolve to B flat, right? Let's check it out and see what happens. So now we're going to do the 2-5-1 for A, 2, 5, resolve to A now. All right. All right, do a little melody to lead the voice into it. Da-na-na. F, B flat. Wow, it's crazy, right? How that works. So that's why I say everything is 2-5-1. Somehow there's a 2-5-1 built in there. Okay, I'll do it again. So resolve to the, however you want to do it. You want to do the drop 2 if you want to do that one. All right, you do F, and now we can end it and get out of it now and just do the 2, 5, and the 1. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Any questions, you can go ahead and leave it in the comment section. If you'd like to learn more about theory, more about how scales and these things work with gospel music, well, then you need to go check out my free guide over at gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/gospel keys pro. It's called What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.